Good afternoon, my faithful listeners, and thank you for tuning in to the Post-Apocalyptic News Radio, your only source for the latest goings-on in a little corner of the post-apocalyptic wasteland we call home. Today is Saturday, the 21st of June, and we're live at the bottom of the hour with more of the latest. Today we'll be discussing the weather, the events of yesterday's holiday, a creature of the wasteland, and a suspicious message from the Legatus. Not necessarily in that order, but most certainly starting with the weather, the most useless of news. The rain has lulled to a light drizzle, and things are calm in our world. The winds are calm and cooling, and will be throughout the night. Humidity is stable at 65%, and the temperature levels are at 26 degrees Celsius, and should not go lower than 23 degrees tonight. The Chestnut River has started to calm. Though still flooded, the water levels have finally begun to recede. Caution is still recommended near the river. A bit uncomfortable with the humidity, but otherwise a decent day. All things considered, that is. But now it's time for us to move on. It's time now for our daily siege report. The MCR invaded and took control of our wasteland not long ago, but the studio's defense is held. Now, a bitter standoff between your home for music and news and a society of brutes. Early this day, a letter was delivered to the studio with the seal of Legatus Aurelius's office. With this letter was a promise that all under the employ of the studio should be safe and no longer subject to persecution by the populace. This, so long as all events reported on were factual and held themselves in line with the official reports of the MCR. It is an interesting proposal that, on face value, is an olive branch, a promise of peace. However, in the wording of this letter, it is the expectation of the state that the media should agree with the position of the state. Failure to do so should, without exemption, result in an individual's protections being removed. It is a confirmation that it is the intent of Legatus Aurelius to turn our broadcast into state media. It is a chilling thought that such a reality is their goal, and that we are held hostage here or persecuted in the wasteland until we, as the media, comply with the demands of the state. Left with that dreadful reality, let's take a look at something happier, something to ease the mind and spirit. Yesterday, the 20th of June, we here at the studio celebrated Miss Beans' birthday. We celebrated by creating a small cake from cans of fish for her. The studio has smelled quite fishy ever since, but she was absolutely ecstatic with this. Mr. Johnson attempted to play songs from the world that was that he found here in the studio's storage. But it seems Miss Beans was not necessarily a fan of the genre, hiding with great haste whenever the needle was placed on the record. Finally, the event ended with a small gift exchange. We each gave to Miss Beans a single personalized can coin. Having put our own marks on what we gave, I did my best to draw an image of her and I together here in the recording room onto the one I gave her. But I am no artist, and I fear it did not turn out terribly well. But that's going to conclude our look into yesterday's events, and now we must move on to more dreadful things. It is time we discuss the beasts that travel our wasteland. Ever since the incident, the wild things of the world have changed. Very few beasts are as they once were. Often morphed and mutated into horrific abominations, these creatures prowl the wastes. Many of them deadly, some helpful, others benign. In this segment, we should discuss our wasteland's wild things. Velvet mushrooms. There is a fungus that grows deep in the caves and underneath the earth of our wasteland. It is found growing from the bones of long-dead beasts and men. Their caps are deep brown, velvet in feel and fringed. Their stalks are as the bones they grow from, porous, spongy, and stiff, growing straight up and often indistinguishable from bone in look, feel, and build. They do not cluster, but grow spread out from one another. Their spores create a thick haze. Their danger lies in their spores, for this fungus is a deadly predator of haste most remarkable. As the spores make contact with the body, the flesh is eaten away as the spores germinate, consuming the flesh with such speed as to see a skeleton scream in perfect silence. The fungus will feed until one is but bone, and continue to grow off the marrow within. Yet worst of all is the fungus's habit to leave the nerves of its victim intact, from the brain and the skull to the nerves in every fingertip, which are used by the fungus to communicate with others of its kind. A brain salvaged, not its own, so do take caution deep in the earth of the wasteland, or your mind may yet be forfeit. But I'm afraid that's going to be all the time we have for today. It's time for the evening radio music. Before we go, however, I should like to leave you with the afternoon puzzler. Did you discover the answer to the most recent question? I'll remind you the question was, why did the invisible man turn down the job offer? The answer, he couldn't see himself doing it. Congratulations to anyone who got that one. Today's puzzler is as follows. Why was the dog ceaselessly attacked by ducks at the pond? Think about it, and tune in again tomorrow for the answer. But I'm afraid that's all the time we have. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time, I wish you all the very best. And, if you're truly out there, good luck.